You're listening to the Sensuality Project podcast, where the messiness of real life gets sexy, hosted by Stacey Herrera. This podcast is intended for mature audiences only. Episodes contain profane language and topics of a sexual nature that may not be suitable for children. Listener discretion is strongly advised. Welcome back. I'm so excited. I know I say that every time. I'm excited every time. Yes, there's nothing more expansive than having deeply nourishing conversations with my sister friends. So I just love doing this, and I'm so grateful that you continue to join me. If you are new, welcome. If you are returning, thank you. Make sure that you subscribe for future episodes. And in this amazing episode, I am chatting with my sister friend Fatou Sy, and we met at a silent retreat. We met at a silent retreat, and we actually didn't talk until the night before the final day, where we were allowed to speak again. And we talked all night long. Like, we literally talked all night long from like 9 p.m. until 4 a.m. We stood outside under the moon talking about everything. In fact, as we stood there, the weather changed. We were in the middle of the desert. And as we stood there, the moon was shining bright, and then there was cloud cover. And the next thing we knew, there was like rain, and there was thunder, and there was lightning, and we did not move. We continued to talk. We were outside. There were no lights. So there were like all kinds of animal sounds, and it was just, it was a crazy adventure. It was a crazy adventure, but we were just kindred spirits. You know, you meet someone and you immediately everything flows with that person. Well, that was my experience with my sister friend, Fatou. And I was so honored when she accepted my invitation to have this conversation with me. And we talked a lot about body stuff. She has an amazing body, and she's so in tune with it. And we talked about the menstrual cycle and letting go and releasing and paying attention to your flow. She talks a lot about why movement is so important, and how moving your body is a way to keep movement in your life. Anyways, I could go on and on, but you should listen for yourself. You should listen for yourself. It's these conversations give me so much, and I hope that you are getting just as much. But I'm going to stop talking now because I want you to listen for yourself. And again, any resources mentioned on this episode you can find on the show notes page at staceyherrera.com. I'm so excited to talk to you.
Me too. I'm a little nervous, but it's okay. Because I don't know what you're going to ask me. Or like what we're going to talk about.
Just so whatever. Anyway. Like whatever. Well, let's start with foreplay. How about that? I'm going to ask you some questions, and you can see, you tell me if you can guess what this item is.
Okay.
Like kind of like a warm up. So let me see. Let me think of a good one. Okay, here's a good one. Okay, so I'm going to give you 3 descriptions, and you tell me what the item is. Okay. You have to worry to eat me out. I'm only good for pumping. The liquid in me comes in spurts.
Breath.
What do you think it is?
The breath?
No.
Okay, say the description one more time.
Okay, you have to worry to eat me out. I'm only good for worry. I'm only good for pumping. The liquid in me comes in spurts.
I have no idea. Is it like, you have to worry?
You give up?
Is it is that white thing that you put on fire to put out a fire?
No. That's a good one, though. Fire extinguisher. No, that's a good one. It's the heart.
The heart?
Yes. Heart. Like eat your
Wait.
heart out.
Oh, I never heard that.
Yeah. You know what? I think that's an American American thing. Like
Expression.
it's kind of like a thing like for envy, like eat your heart out. Like someone has to envy,
Oh,
to it's I don't know where that even came from, but that's what it means. Okay, let me see. I'm gonna give you another one. Let's see.
okay.
Something that's not here's an easy one. You might get this one. Okay. I sometimes feature a little head. Licking my backside does the trick. To work well, I must be wet and sticky.
What was the first one?
I sometimes feature a little head.
Oh, is it
Sounds naughty, huh?
like, something with your back?
Yeah, licking my backside does the trick. And to work well, I must be wet and sticky. The last one isn't as applicable today as it used to be.
Man, these are hard. I have no idea.
This one was stamp. But back in the day, you used to have to wet a stamp, but
Oh,
now they're self-adhesive. So I'm like, that kind of doesn't apply anymore.
my mind is so nasty.
That's the point, though. That's the point. They're supposed to be like really, really descriptive, but it's supposed to make your mind go there. Look, nothing like a little intercourse to get you started.
Okay.
A little foreplay. Anyway, so I know I'd love to talk about the cultural differences that you've experienced having, now lived on 3 different continents.
2, actually.
Really?
I kind of lived in Senegal for 7 months, so I guess 3 different ones.
Look, I was thinking, dude, am I like really bad with geography? Okay.
No.
So you don't remember a lot about living there, but you've gone there.
Yeah, so I'm born and raised in Sweden. So, and then I lived here for about 5.5 years. And then I was in Senegal. Like my first time in Senegal, I was there for 7 months.
Wow. Have you, I mean, in terms of like being a woman, what's the biggest difference between the 3 places? I mean, in terms of like your womanness, in terms of how you move through the society and culture.
Good question. So, I feel here in the States, I'm more free, free to dress as I want to, or I would say in LA, especially not maybe like a small town, small city, but here it's very diverse here, very multicultural, very almost hippie like. I feel very open here. I can be very open here. In Senegal, which is like I want to say kind of religious, but also one of the countries in Africa that are more open and more developed, I would say. So being there, I didn't know what I know now. So going in like a dress, like to the knees, is acceptable, but not in certain areas or aspects. And I kind of didn't know that. So I felt like I had to hide more than I need to do here. And in Sweden, kind of like forgot, but don't want to remember. I feel like Sweden was such a bad experience. Okay, but it was. I wanted to hide more. Like when I was in my teen years, I was very open, and could dress however I liked, and dance freely. And then I got shy, and it was more of I didn't feel comfortable as I want to say as a Black woman. I didn't feel comfortable, and I felt super ugly and super not wanted, and comparing myself to my other friends who were either European or mixed or from Middle East, like super beautiful. And here I come, nappy head and not comfortable. So that part really held me back. And then I came to the States and everybody was free. And I was like, okay, cool.
Wow. Now, do you think that do you feel like it is that you've seen more people here that look like you?
Definitely.
That's interesting.
Definitely. And also that men here are more open to being with a Black woman here than in Sweden.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. So the pool for colored women or colored men even in Sweden is do you think that the dating pool?
Colored women. Yes.
Oh.
Men have no problem. Or not, I don't want to say no problem, but everybody wants them.
Wow.
But Black women, yeah, I even heard a friend of mine, like me and her, we liked, blonde and blue eyes, Swedish guys, and they have like a name for it there. And she's like, no, it's not even about that. Sometimes that's all we can get. I was like, that's so true.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, because I've only lived here, and so I've always had, and when I say here, I mean California, because everywhere in the States isn't like here. And it's so easy to live in California and be completely deluded about the diversity of the States. It's very easy to look around and think, oh, America is really a melting pot, but it doesn't look like this everywhere. But then even to zoom out farther and to think about what it would be like to be a different, like a more intense minority. Because, you're Black, you're a minority in America, but you're like a minute minority in Sweden.
Right.
Wow, I hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah.
Now since you've been here though, have you had a change in the flavor of men that you like, or has your palate broadened?
Oh, so I was not at all, or not at all. I would say I justified it. Like, I was not interested in Black men, but it was just they weren't interested in me. Mm-hmm. So I twisted it into being like, no, I don't like Black guys, and blah blah blah. But when I came here, I was introduced to a variety of, every shade and from every background, and it just opened my view, even like Hispanics and Asian, not only Caucasian, it was just like everything.
Wow.
I didn't care. Like, as long as you're a good person and, kind of have to catch my eyes, but, like that. But in Sweden, it was kind of only Swedish guys. But yeah, definitely opened my view.
Someone, and now I don't remember who said it to me, but it was someone who traveled a lot, and it was a man, and I remember him saying that in order for you really to open your mind, you have to leave where you've been. And I thought that's really, that's a really profound thing. And I've traveled outside of the country a couple of times, but only in, like in the Caribbean or, Mexico. Like, I haven't gone across the pond, so to speak, yet. So even I remember the first time I went to Jamaica in 1999. And, I've always been full figured, so I don't have skinny past or skinny memories, and which is a gift, by the way. But here, growing up as a kid, I was teased for being chubby, and not bullied, but teased. And so but I never felt uncomfortable in my body. I never felt unattractive, but the messages that I got from other people made me think that other people thought I was unattractive, even though that wasn't how I felt. But then I go to Jamaica. I think I was 25. I think so. I think I was 25. So I go to Jamaica, and all of a sudden, full figured is what they like. I could not believe I had never had an experience where all the men were looking at me all the time, where it was
Mm-hmm.
so bad that we went off the resort to go to a club like the first or the second night we were there, and we were going with two local guys who actually worked in the resort, and the men, because of course culturally they function differently than we, every culture acts differently. So I wasn't ready for the men. Not only were they catcalling me, but they actually felt like they had the right to touch me too. And I was like, why do they keep grabbing me? But and not even being prepared for that's just how they were. And I don't know if they still act like that, but I ended up having to like latch on to one of the guys we were with and be like, this is my man, to get the men to not do that to me. It was such a culture shock for me. So it's so
recognize that though, like coming here, and like you have a certain glow when you go to a different country. I feel people recognize that you're not from here.
Mm-hmm.
So coming here, like me and my friends, we were like 19, out in the club, dancing, and people just like surrounded us almost. It was interesting. I don't think we were scared, but I kind of took the alpha role of always like protecting them, but feeling I felt wanted. That's what I felt.
That's a great segue into, look, I didn't know I was going here, but I'm glad that you said that, because one of the things that I have discovered, and I discovered it about myself, and I've seen it in a lot of the women that I work with and talk to, is that as a woman, a lot of times we really get stuck in the space of wanting to be wanted or having the desire to be desired. And the challenge in that is that we often don't have real desire for ourselves. And we often have a hunger to be the subject or the object of someone else's desire rather than being the subject of our own.
Developing that early, like that understanding of, no, as long as I feel comfortable in my skin and I feel beautiful, I don't need anybody else's like recognition.
Well, I don't know that I would love to say that all of it was just me. I was just born with confidence, but I think for a long time it was inauthentic, because I think that for a good while, probably for more than half of my life, I would even venture to say, it was a defense mechanism more than it was, you know what I mean? It was more like, well, just because you said I'm fat, well, I think I'm beautiful. I think that, I don't know how I certainly felt it, but I think some of it was a projection, and me really trying to defend myself. And it was effective, it was effective.
Yeah.
It was effective, but I think it wasn't until I got probably well beyond, like probably in my early 30s even, before I really could own it, where I could really be rooted in it and not look for someone else to confirm what I felt. Because I felt it, but there was a part of me that always wanted confirmation that I wasn't like blowing smoke up my own ass,
Yeah.
But so now, now of course in the 40s, I really feel I feel more of myself than I've ever been. And not, but again, like it just had been in the last couple of years that I recognized that so many of my romantic connections have been fueled by my desire to be desired. In fact, I could count on probably one hand how many people I actually was attracted to versus the people I developed an attraction for because they were attracted to me. It's fascinating. I think that we really, as women, I know at least here in the States, we are kind of taught that we are chosen and we don't really get to choose. And so it's so easy to be the object of someone else's affection or attention or desire. The problem with that is people get caught up in their own lives and then they forget about you. So if you're feeling good enough is tied to someone else reassuring you or telling you that you are. The minute they get caught up in and their focus is elsewhere, where does that leave you? And it's a terrible feeling. Like, because that's, it happens. People change their mind. They fall out of love. They want somebody else, like so many things happen. And if we hinge all of our, if we were banking on being wanted by somebody else, it really is, it can be gutting when they change their mind, because as I love humans, but we are fickle. We change our minds. We flip flop very easily. Something sparkles and then we like it until something else, takes our attention away.
It's interesting. I think it was from the movie Mona Lisa or something like that, where the woman, like, you were successful when you married a good man, and when you had your dishwasher and washing machine. Like, have you seen that movie? Like the scene when she shows her girlfriend like her washing machine, and everybody was crazy, like, oh my God, this is so beautiful, and like, oh my God, you found the right husband, and now you can have babies and take care of them. And that was kind of it. And their teacher was trying to fight against that and be like, you're more than just a wife or a mother. And
that was with Julia Roberts, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I think I might own that movie. I need to watch it again. I know I've seen it. It's been a long time.
Watch it. Yeah, because I was like, that is so true.
And, even now, of course, the dynamics have changed a bit, because women are not as, and not, there are still some, but women are not as awestruck by washing machines anymore. But even now that we are able to, be in the workplace and create and do the things that we always wanted to do, not that the playing field is even, it's certainly, we still have a long way to go, but there's definitely more expansion than there was back in the day. But that piece about wanting to be wanted hasn't changed.
You feel that? To a certain degree, or like, I would say out of 5 women, maybe 1 or 2 women are like, I want a husband or I want a boyfriend, but I don't need him. Or like, I feel I can be single. I'm good with just myself or just my dog or whatever. But yeah, I believe a lot of women still believe that, but not everyone.
No, definitely. Well, again, like I a few years ago, I didn't even know. Like, I mean, it's not that I wasn't able to be alone. Like, I've never been never been the kind of woman that needed to be partnered all the time. I've never needed that. But there were too many relationships that I tolerated. And when I say that, I haven't had any horrible relationship experiences, but that doesn't mean that they were good for me, right? Because they weren't like bad. But there were a lot of experiences that I tolerated just because the person liked me or they were into me. It wasn't so much that I was into them. It's kind of like you have a taste for something very particular. Like, maybe you're like, what I really want is, a vanilla bean chocolate shake. Like that specific. I want a vanilla bean chocolate shake. That's what I really want. And then here comes somebody and they're like, we have strawberry. And you're like, okay, I'll just take strawberry then. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. But it's like, that's not what you really wanted. It's just like, oh, well, strawberry's available, so it's fine. I'll just take strawberry. That's kind of, I think, if I were to give a ballpark percentage, I would venture to say that probably 75% of my of the, you know, connections. I won't even say relationships because they weren't all relationships, but probably about 75% of the connections that I had were really about me just settling for Strawberry. Even though I never doubted. Huh?
No, I would agree, like, that the same for me.
It's fascinating, right?
It is. And for me, I feel like because I didn't have that many relationships or were connected with that many men, I justified and was like, oh, I don't need anybody. Like, or I kept changing my mind. I was like, oh, I don't need anybody, but I would really want to meet somebody. Or when I was with somebody, I would really want to be single. Like, it flickered back and forth, but I never knew myself enough to be just content with just me. I always had the hunger for, oh my God, I really need to be single, or I really want to be in a relationship. I was never just content with being me, knowing myself, being or doing what I need to do, take care of myself. Like, I felt that I never was that person.
Yeah.
Until now, knowing what I know now. But that took a lot of trying and errors and talking to people, being open, reading books, and, you know, really getting to know yourself at a deeper level.
What's some of the books what's at least one book that you feel like was like a major game changer for you in terms of your journey to get to know yourself?
A book called, it was this lady from, I believe, Germany. She had written a book about getting out of depression, I think it was, which I really resonated with. Oh, The Other Side, where all the life lessons learned from your past are put to use for a brighter, happier future. So reading another person's story and, like, hearing similarities and, like, being able to put into words whatever I was feeling. That's, like, I believe that's when it clicked. Just being, not comparing, but really connecting to somebody else that I don't even know, but really connecting. And same with, like, musicians or athletes. I just couldn't put into words what I was feeling. So I had to have somebody else doing it. So reading books like that, some spiritual book, really mostly just looking at YouTube clips. Everything from, like, Super Soul Sundays with Oprah.
I love Super Soul Sunday. It's so nourishing.
They have, like, a variety of different speakers coming. It's not just one person, and different stories, different backgrounds.
You know, I think that we really do, and I think it's probably overlooked often, but we really connect on a soul level when we share our stories. And I think that that's why I think, like, it's so great that now the internet gives us access to stories from everywhere, all walks of life. You know, you can find them on YouTube, you can find them on podcasts, you can read them on blogs. I think that it's really important because we need to be able to see ourselves, and looking in the mirror isn't enough. And the people close to us, sometimes we are so easily triggered that we can't still see, you know, the parts that they're reflecting back to us all the time. But I was just over the weekend, you know, my daughter had made a comment and she said, "You don't really like nonfiction." And I said, "I do. You know, I don't like textbook nonfiction, but I really can resonate with if it's nonfiction that is written in story form. Then that's the only way I can read a nonfiction book from cover to cover. If it's written in a informational kind of structure, then my brain processes it as research material, and I rarely read research material from cover to cover. In fact, I'm reading Dani Shapiro, her recent memoir called Hourglass. And it's really, she's such a beautiful writer. But the story or the memoir is focused on her marriage. She's been married for a long time, but she writes it so beautifully. Like she starts it starts off with her talking about this woodpecker that had been boring holes in her house. And she didn't know what the sound was at first. And when she found it, she found that it was a woodpecker that was like literally pecking holes in her house. And she said it was like a season of decay because their house was literally a reflection of some of the things that were going on in their relationships, the way in her relationship, like some of the ways that the relationship was needing to be repaired and replenished, the same way some of the not just the woodpecker and the pecking, but some of the internal structures of her house that had just gotten weathered and worn and that needed upgrades. And she was kind of in the awareness that her relationship was in the same space. And I was like, that is amazing. So I think that our stories, especially stories of women, I think that they connect us on such a cellular level. And that's why I think that it's really important for us to create dialogue and to talk to one another about where we are and what's going on, because you're hard pressed to have a conversation with a woman that doesn't reflect back part of yourself.
Just leave that space open to feel comfortable to even open up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, let's have a little intercourse now. This is a great midpoint.
Yeah.
Look, what's the sexiest thing someone has whispered in your ear?
Let me think. I say I don't know. I don't remember.
Look, you were in so much in the moment that you didn't recall.
Maybe that, or maybe that. Or I didn't pay attention. I don't know. Do you mean doing an act or
whenever? Whenever. Look, now I'm thinking about mine. What is it?
Yes, please. If
you know what? Honestly, the first thing that came to my mind was my name.
Okay.
Like but I don't think that I don't think it's that someone's saying my name. I think it's the feeling of breath on my ear, like the whole sensual thing about somebody whispering. So it's the warmth of feeling someone else's breath, and then the texture of air when it hits your ear when someone is actually saying something to you. And there's something about somebody with enough bass in their voice saying my name close to my ear.
And now that I think about it, I'm like, I don't like when people whisper in my ear.
Really? Tell me.
I think it's like, can you just tell it to my face? Do you really have to be all up in my ear? Like, I get super annoyed. That's why I was like, I don't think I paid attention. I just like, oh my God, just deal with it. Oh my God, this is so nasty. I don't know.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I think that's weird.
No, it's not. It's just a preference. You get to like what you like.
I guess, but because I know it has happened, and now that I'm thinking back, I got annoyed. I was like, I can't hear you. Can you speak louder? And like ruin the moment. Oh my God, it was so awkward. Now that I think about it.
So that was not sexy.
Don't whisper in my ear.
Okay, well that's a great segue. Look, my next question is, what's your favorite conversation starter when you want to start a conversation with someone else's body?
Touching. And it could be no one, when a man puts his hand around you and like hold your hip.
Well, you know, the
or
hips are the
carrying
seat that
you
the
to
hips are where we
show us.
store emotion. So that makes sense.
Okay, that makes sense. Like lift you and you know put you in slack or something like
Wow, that's
that.
nice. Look, I'm getting a visual.
Oh, what about you?
Um, Let me see. I'm trying to think like the last time I started a conversation with someone else's body, what did I do? Um, I think that my energy shifts when I become when I know that there's an attraction and that my energy shifts. I know that the way I gaze at the person changes. And so without even saying anything, like a look comes over my face. And I've seen the look on other people's faces. So I don't know what I particularly look like because I usually can't see myself, but I know I've seen that look on men's faces when they've decided they want to have a conversation with my body. Like this their eyes change, their energy changes. Like sometimes the head will be cocked just so, you know?
Mhm.
It's just like a look that you're like you see it and you recognize it right away.
Yeah.
So I know that I do that too. And I didn't realize I did it. I didn't
Wow.
realize I did it. But I know that now I inhabit my body in such a way that I recognize subtle things that I know were always there, but I didn't pay any attention to before. But I definitely have a look and an energy shift that happens before I even touch the person, where it's kind of like my body wakes up and then I have this awareness that I'm attracted to this person and I want to be sexual with them.
I can see it. It's
Yeah, it's
definitely a stare. Like if you look at somebody in a certain way, then there's like these signals that send like through your eyes, through your whole demeanor. I want to say,
mm-hmm.
like you say, the energy shifts. I can definitely see
Yes. Yeah, you know, I hadn't thought about it before. Look, these questions are not supposed to be for me. Like,
that. Oh, sorry, I don't
no, 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 that's
know.
okay. Like, because I think, you know, sometimes we discover more about ourselves in dialogue than we can sitting thinking, you know, because there's nowhere for things to land. It's kind of like, you know, if there were no planets for the sun to hit, then it would never light anything up, even though it's bright. You know, like the only reason that the moon glows is because the sun hits it. And that's the reason that night happens is because it just means that there's nothing for the rays to bounce back off of. So, you know, like sometimes we discover more about ourselves in conversations with other people because we would not be able to see our reflection otherwise. Look, so much goodness. So much goodness. So what's your favorite thing about living in California?
Oh, the weather.
The weather, yeah.
Weather, definitely.
I just came back from over the weekend. I went camping at Lake Isabella, and it's about 3 hours, a little bit over 3 hours. I guess kind of northeast of here, and it was amazing to like drive through. Like on the way there, you ride alongside the Kern Valley River, which is amazing and dangerous because people seem to always think they can conquer it. So it's a river that claims lives every year. Like in the last 30 years or something, there's been like over 300 people that died on it. But like riding through like next to the river and next to these huge mountains, I felt so small. And I was like, I feel so small in this, like, you know, because, you know, when you're walking around in your regular life and you can feel small next to a tall building, but it doesn't feel the same as being next to a mountain. And I was like, oh my God, this is so beautiful. But I was like, I feel so small in the big scheme of things, and it gives you a lot of perspective about the bullshit you worry about. Like,
right. Period. No, seriously. Seriously. No, I would say just walking on the street, looking up. Just look at the sky, look at the sun, look at the moon, look at the stars, look at the trees. If you just pay attention to your surroundings and understand that, oh, this world is huge. It's
yes.
huge.
Yes.
And I'm here in little bitty LA. Okay, no, there's more to life. Okay. Maybe I need to look at a world book or something like that and find out about other places.
Mm-hmm. Well, we met at Vipassana, 10 days of silence and meditation, which was expansive. So now we've been back for, what has it been, 2 weeks?
Something like that, yeah.
So what's been your, like, how do you feel different, like, after having that experience and now being 2 weeks back to your regular life? Do you feel different?
I would say absolutely. And I think we spoke about this even before I left us. Like, I'm dreading a little bit going back to LA because I know I have to deal with it as soon as I get home. Mm-hmm. And of course it did. And we got taught not to be afraid of stuff and not to crave stuff. And I was afraid even when I was at Vipassana. But so what I took from there was just to not take things too serious, and like whatever it is, that will always work out. Maybe not the way that I wanted to, but you're always able to fix stuff. Everything is fixable, and not to stress your mind, body, or soul. Just don't stress it, because that doesn't help anybody. Mm-hmm. And of course we do, because we're humans. But I bounce back much quicker now.
Yes, it's the recovery time that is. Yeah, I definitely. I have seen my recovery time has changed, and I also have seen that the things that are triggers for me, I have been more discerning of what those things are, and now I feel like I've been able to gather language for what it is in a way that I didn't have before. Well, like almost, yeah, like it would take me longer. It's not that I couldn't, pinpoint a trigger, but it might take me, it would take me a couple of experiences before I could be able to really be like, okay, this is the thing I'm experiencing, and this is what that links to. Okay, so here's a great example. So over the weekend, I listened to a lot of the people that I was camping with, liked Latin music. So I only listened to Spanish language music all weekend. And it's not that I have a problem. I've never had a problem, but it's not something I particularly enjoy, but I'm not repulsed. But over the weekend, after spending, all the music I heard was Spanish. But what I discovered was, I was like, the reason that I don't enjoy it very much is because a lot of the singers on the songs are men that have smaller voices. And also because the songs usually, most of them don't have a bass line in them. And so that coupled with but usually they have a horn section. And, horn is a really high pitched sound. And then there are these voices that are small. And I already knew that my body resonates better with the frequency with low frequency sounds. So the high frequency sound just doesn't feel good to me vibrationally, which is the reason that I didn't that I don't enjoy that music very much, because the music I'm more attracted to tends to have a bass line because that's low. And a lot of times the singers that I think their voices sound beautiful to me tend to have lower pitched voices. I don't connect very well with high pitched things. So, but I just knew that I wouldn't choose to listen to Spanish music, and it wasn't about me not understanding, because I listen to other music that I don't understand, like I don't know what they're saying, but the beat and the rhythm and all the stuff still resonates with me. But I didn't have any language for why. I just knew that I didn't like it that much. But it was just like, oh, it's the frequency that I'm having a hard time with. But I was able to discern that much quicker. And it's not, this is after me listening to Spanish music for years. Like,
right. Like, what is this bothering me? But like,
exactly.
How do you feel like how was this weekend? How did you deal with it while you were there?
I just did. Like, there were no moments where I was just like, if I hear one more fucking Spanish song, that never happened. That never happened. And there was never any moment where it wasn't like, oh, let me go somewhere else, or let me go back to the tent so I don't have to hear it. That never happened. It was just it was like just an awareness. Like, I'm not enjoying this very much, but I don't hate it. It was like that. Okay. It's like, and so I'm not avoiding it. But I'm definitely not loving it. But I'm not hating it. Like, I wasn't bothered. I guess I wasn't bothered. But I was very aware that it wouldn't be a choice I would make. Mm-hmm. But it was just like, but like in the recognizing, because it's not, I recognized that I wouldn't choose it. And that's what made me query, like, okay, what is it exactly that I don't like about this? And then it was just like, oh, it's a vibration thing, because everything is vibration. We just don't all experience it like that. But everything is vibration, including like people or whatever. So I recognized even before that like there would be certain people that they would talk and I would just be like, I can't stand that person's voice. But before I didn't know that. This was before I had lost part of my sight or whatever. And, it'd be like, oh, her voice is so irritating. Like it would be like that. But then once I lost the sight, I was able to feel, I was like, no, the vibration of the person's voice doesn't resonate with my vibration. And that's the reason that it's hard for me to hear certain people. So the good news is that because we live in the online world now, there are some of the people that I enjoy, like people that I would follow maybe for business or because they give good information, if their voices are not a frequency that I enjoy, thank goodness there are usually multiple ways to connect with people. So, some people I'd rather read a blog post than watch one of their videos. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because it's like, I don't like your voice. I don't want to hear it. But the content is good. So now there's so many different options. Now you can mute, even on some videos, you can mute them and the words are transcribed. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So I love that there's choice because now, I know exactly the reason why certain voices, it's just like, because some voices like, right?
Oh yeah, they are.
Sometimes you like, it's like listening to someone scrape this chalkboard.
Oh my God.
You're like, oh my goodness, I just can't stand the way that person sounds. And for years, I really did just think that I was just easily annoyed by certain people. But now I'm like, oh no, but it isn't that. It has nothing to do with who they are as a person. It's vibration. Yeah. Long Story Short is an advice column for achy, breaky hearts, curious libidos, and desperately seeking humans of the female persuasion. If you're looking for straight from the hip advice, because emotion loves to settle in the hips, you're in the right place. Long Story Short provides real-world advice for women like you. Why? Because sometimes you need a little perspective about the shit that's going on in your life. Submit your long story short to bit.ly/long story short advice. the human body is just so fascinating.
It is. That's
What's
how
okay,
funny.
so since you spend so much time moving your body,
Mm.
why do you enjoy that?
I suffered from depression for many years, and I felt like meditation helped me, stay in alignment, getting to know myself, get to know myself, and it was a lot of time. So I had a person pass away, and that really broke me, like really, 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 really broke me. And I was depressed, and I was dealing with school and economic issues and just everything. And I was just stagnant. I was still. And when I hadn't even started meditating back then. And something, a voice, a feeling, something told me, just keep moving. Just keep moving. And I was like, what the fuck is, what do you mean? Like, just keep moving. I'm always, I'm walking to school, I'm thinking about, I'm doing this. What do you mean, keep moving? No, just keep moving. So when I don't move, that's when, like, my body gets almost like it turns into stone. Not literally, but it gets so stiff, and I get sick, and I just now recent months I started to notice this, that I just gotta keep moving, whether it's working out or dancing or just walking. I just have to keep moving in order for the blood circulation to keep going, for the oxygen coming in and carbon dioxide out. It just has to keep moving always. Keep thinking, keep writing, keep speaking, just everything, keep everything in motion.
Wow.
And that's why I like studying the body, because you can do so many things with it and heal yourself. And that's the what it is. I just, that voice telling me that I need to keep moving.
I love that. I love that. I don't remember who said it, but there was a woman, I want to say she did a fitness challenge that I had signed up for years ago, but she I'm sorry that I won't be able to properly credit her, but because I don't remember her name. But she said, move your body, move your life. And I've never forgotten it, because I know, like, when you feel stuck, whether it's not, even if it's just writer's block, like, oh, I don't know, I can't find a sentence, like sometimes just, dancing to one song or taking a walk around the block, or even just stretching in your seat. If it, it could be that small of a movement, and it can shift everything. And I do believe that, the more sedentary, and right now I've been guilty of being sedentary. I used to walk so much, and I was just saying to one of my girlfriends before, earlier today, how I've had such a difficult time getting myself to commit to moving 30 minutes. And I'm like, I don't know why. I know that it's just a habit, but I know that there is some resistance, though, that I'm experiencing about making taking some risks in my life in general. So I know why I'm resisting it, like resisting moving, because it's really a reflection of my resistance to move forward.
Right. Because, like, even if you remember when we were sitting and meditating and they told us not to move, and you started feeling pain, and like once we could start moving, just moving an inch made a huge difference. Difference in your body, almost like a shock. And I feel like the same thing is life. When something happens and you freeze, just the slightest shift or the slightest movement will change the course of that thing that happened, or like your perception of it will change. Like a carousel that never stops turning. That's life. And it's hard sometimes, but once you understand that you have to keep moving. I can't explain it in some way. You just gotta keep moving and keep going and keep trying and keep getting up when you fail. The hard part is to start, but once you start, you just gotta keep getting into the habit of doing it. Be consistent with it.
I agree. You've got such a beautiful voice.
I appreciate that.
No, I mean, when you were saying that, I was thinking like her voice is it's melodic almost.
And
Yeah, it's
I'm like recovering from a cold, but thank you. It's a little sore. Like, that sexy voice.
Did you get the cold right after you came back from Vipassana?
Yes.
Interesting.
I went to the beach and then my hair didn't dry and I went out that night. So I think everything just, melted together and it's like, all right, you're going to be sick for 2 weeks now.
Do you think that it was really, do you think you dove back in too fast?
That too. And then the air isn't as clean as it was over there.
Mm-hmm.
I think, I don't know. I think it was a lot of different things that came to me, but definitely stress.
That'll do it every time.
Yeah.
I took it so easy. Like I was not intentionally. It wasn't because I know so much. It was. It really wasn't. It wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't because I know so much. But like when I came back, I felt so mellow that I could not. It wasn't a choice. It didn't feel like a choice I was making. I literally couldn't just jump back in. So like the day after, I took my time. Like I was like, I made a list of things that I needed to do and things I wanted to do. And then I didn't do any of those things. And every day I would say, it was like every day I kept saying, okay, I really need to do something. And then it would be like, but I don't want to. And so I let myself do that for a week. Every day I would revisit the conversation. I would look at the list. And then I was just like, no, I don't want to do that. And I didn't. And then the next week, I did check some things off my list, but I didn't push myself to try to do all of the things. I just did I chose a couple a day. And then this week I completely refreshed. Like, I mean, I've gotten so much done, but I should add that when I came back from Vipassana, I was getting ready to start my cycle. And and when you're getting ready to start your cycle, you should be, withdrawing and resting and having introspection. And probably that was probably the most I've honored that time of the month, maybe ever. Like I was so aware and it was just like, I don't want to. And so I didn't. And there was no, I didn't make up a story or start nagging myself to death about what I didn't do either, which is normally what I would have done. Because it's not that I never take the time to pause, but usually I'll harangue myself for not doing the stuff. But I didn't. It was just like, I don't feel like it. And so I'm not. And when I felt like it, I did, which was a week later. And then this week I've been supercharged. Like I've been so productive and I'm like, ooh, this feels so delicious. But when my cycle comes around again, after having had that experience, I want to be able to honor myself in that way by really giving myself the time to slow down, like to really slow down and not just to tell myself I'm slowing down.
It's really good. I wish, I'm not saying I wish, I'm gonna, but okay, so if you have a very hectic life, and let's say you have kids or you have a very demanding job or whatever, how would you tell women or men to take that week or take that time? Like, how would you help us set it up? Like, make a schedule or really postpone everything to next week?
Well, I think anything that you can postpone, definitely, postpone. I mean, of course, everyone can't pause everything and just be like, okay, I'm cocooning for 72 hours, but for at least the first 2 days of your cycle, if you have to work, which is most people's lives, right? But if make your schedule as light as you possibly can. I would say don't book any meetings unless you absolutely have no choice. So try to organize at least the first 2 days. It's particularly the very first day. Because, sometimes you feel kind of, usually the second day for me, because that's usually the day where it seems the heaviest. So it seems the most taxing. So I would say the first 2 days, like, try to keep your schedule as light as you can, but also try to put the things on your schedule that you have to do by yourself. You know what I mean? So that, if you know that you're going to be physically uncomfortable, it probably isn't a good idea if you're a supervisor to schedule your one-on-one reviews with your team.
Right.
You know what I mean? But maybe there are some reports that you need to look at, and only you can look at them. It's probably a great day to do that, because that you get to do that by yourself. And that means you get to go at your own pace, and you get to, just be with you, as opposed to being in the space where you really feel, even though you're not responsible, you feel some kind of obligation to help manage other people's feelings. So, keep it as light as possible, and try to, if you have to do stuff, try to schedule things that are fairly easy for you and things that give you some time to be by yourself. Because in any job, like, one of the things that, like, I don't particularly enjoy doing, like, the follow-ups after my coaching calls. Like, that's not my favorite thing. But, like, on the days when I am, like, my own personal notes, I mean, like, for a call or whatever. But on a day when I'm either right about to start my period or I am starting my period, like, that's a great day to catch up on that, because it doesn't require me to give my attention to, or my energy to, anything but the thing right in front of me, and I can take my time. So ease, not easy, because sometimes we can't have easy, but we can build ease into our lives, and we should build ease in, particularly around, when we're about to start our periods. I think we just don't give ourselves enough. We're not supposed to feel how we feel all the other days when we're on our period.
Right.
Like, it's about slowing down. It's about letting go, and it's about, like, being patient with your body. So, like, the powering through part, and there are people that have great periods that don't really get sluggish, and that's fantastic if that's not your life. That isn't the life that I've lived ever.
Right.
And most of the people that I know don't live that life either. So,
right.
So slowing down is just really important. And then, like, on those days, like, call it a day early. Like, that isn't a day you should be working overtime if you can help it. And if you can get in the bed early, even if you're not going to sleep, like, just because you get in the bed doesn't mean you have to sleep. But if you can get in the bed early, even if it's just to read or listen to music, to be still, do that. Because, like, our cycle is really, it's really about letting go and releasing. And, like, that's an opportunity for you to really think about some of the things that have maybe felt heavy for you. And if there is something weighing on you, it will show up in your period, because a lot of people, when they're having a heavy flow, that really usually has to do with being angry or resentment or having some bitterness about something. So if you're carrying some dense feelings, your period will often reflect the fact that you're carrying some dense feelings. So paying attention to the flow is really good, because then you get to, be conscious about releasing.
About how your body's really feeling. Because you might think that you're okay, and then your body tells you something else.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. What kind of movements would you suggest for somebody that is maybe, having their period, but they feel like they need to move? Like, what kind of movements would you think is good for them?
I'm going to ask you the same. But yoga, stretch. Just do some static stretching, maybe warm up by taking a power walk. Like, I enjoy walk anytime, any day. And then if you could take time out to stretch after that, because you might feel a little weak when you're on your period too. Right? Not want to do a really conditioning and strengthening exercise workout, a power workout. Maybe you just want to walk and then do a little bit of maybe squats and then call it a day. But take it easy. Take it easy and even meditate. Just love on your body.
Yes. What's your favorite body part? On your own body.
Of course. I was like, my favorite body part. On me or like women in general?
Nope, yours.
Do I have to choose only one? I'm kidding. So
no, as many as you like.
Breast, I would say breast.
Mine too.
Small, not too big. I'm just like, all right, we're cool. You guys are all right. But yeah, what about you?
I really love my breasts right now.
Yeah.
I've been madly in love with them for a couple of years. I do notice the other day, I'm like, I think the gravity is like trying to punk me over my boobs right now. Because, I'm getting older. I looked in the mirror. I was like, are my boobs longer? Like, are they longer than they used to be? But I love the way that they feel. I massage them every single day. And as a result, though, of doing that, they're so much more sensitive. Like, back in my 20s and early 30s, if someone were to ask me, like, are your breasts sensitive? I used to be like, nope, because I really didn't feel one way or the other. If somebody touched them, I didn't really, there was like I could take it or leave it. But like now that I have this relationship with these amazing breasts, they are so sensitive and my arousal begins there. So, like when my breasts are stimulated, that is the fastest way to get me lubricated. Okay. And that may have always been true, but I didn't have the awareness before. I did not know. This has been so good. So now I have to ask an aftercare question. What's your favorite after you've had, an amazing sexual experience or whatever? What's your favorite aftercare? Like, do you like to cuddle, or is there something you need the person to say? Like, how do you like to be taken care of afterwards?
It depends. I definitely like the stillness after. I like to be close to that person after, whether it be spooning or hugging, just laying on the chest. I like to be close to that person and just be quiet and just keep like breathing together. Mm-hmm. That's what I like.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Well, I think that you are some kind of wonderful, and I am so honored to call you my friend. And I'm so grateful that our souls decided to meet at Vipassana in this lifetime.
It was amazing. It was amazing. And thank you for having me and letting me share.
Well, I am really excited about the next chapter and the next incarnation of your experience, not just in California, but in terms of your womanhood and your expansion as you serve others and help other people to be guided back into their own bodies. I think that the work that you're doing is amazing.
Appreciate that, and likewise. I learned so much from you. Gosh.
I think we were definitely destined to meet. And I think that we were, I think we're going to be friends for a long time.
Or like from my point of view, I'm going to be like, Stacey, where you at? Like, I'm done with you. I told you.
That'll never happen. That will never happen. No, you're some kind of wonderful. Well, thank you so much for sharing this space with me. I love you, sister.
Thank you. Thank you. I love you too. Much, much love and respect.
The Sensuality Project is produced, edited, and hosted by me. Music by bensound.com. The Sensuality Project podcast is a production of StaceyHerrera.com.